I'm Cindy Abbott Letro for the Buffalo Niagara Film Commission. 2017 has been a very busy year for the commission. There have been lots of commercials shot, movies made, all kinds of things happening throughout the region. And the Buffalo History Museum has been the location for many of them. One of the biggest, of course, was the press conference that announced a movie that was shot here in Buffalo, Cold Brook, with Buffalo's own Bill Fichtner. Bill, today's a big day. Press conference, your dream that you've been working on for a long time, announcing that Cold Brook is starting to film in Buffalo. I mean, what was this like? I know you're a real softie, but what, you know, it's because of you that it's here.
Well, thank you. You know, this is where the Buffalo part comes out of me, because if I stopped for a minute and was like, oh my God, I can't believe all this is happening, but all I'm really thinking about, I'm so grateful and happy for this, I just want to make a really good movie. And I mean this is the Buffalo part, the working part, the blue collar part that's like, what really matters is we got to get it done. And I'm so excited that there's just a huge sense of relief that place that I'm going to get it done was the one that I dreamed about. That is here.
Well, in this, though, it's your movie.
I've never met him, sorry.
Okay.
My name is Kim Coates. I'm such a fan. No, I'm such a fan.
No, I'm really.
No, I'm a really
listen,
fan. I'm a big fan. I know I'm a big fan.
Listen, I have a PR person over
you're
there.
Doing
Can you
it.
talk
sorry,
to them?
No, sorry.
Can you? Thank you. Thank you.
You two, if you didn't know, that was Kim Coates. You two met on Black Hawk Down. You know, that was a movie at the time. I don't think anybody knew how big that film would become. And you took the part. You were in Morocco. Tell me about how you two met.
We couldn't get the Black Hawk helicopters, so we had an extra like 3 weeks of training. And with 1 week of training to go, Kim Coates shows up, and I was with the Czech stunt team. They were my guys I was training, because I was trained by special ops guys, and none of them could speak English. And I was like, every day was like, oh boy, how am I going to do this today? And then he showed up, and he's like, they're like, hey, we got actor Kim Coates here. And he said, hi, everybody. And I'm like, you are on my team. I understand. Come over here. And that was it.
So speaking English was the basis of your...
a big part. He said, I'm Canadian. I said, I'm not going to hold that against you. Get over here. I love you, and you're working with me. And
you know, it's interesting because you have Canadian investors in this film.
Yes.
This film is truly sort of an international collaborative effort, and you got your Canadian friend in it.
When I met Sarah and Shane, my co-producers on this, who are from Canada, you know, one of the first things they said to me is, can we shoot the film in Canada? And I said, no, you can't. You have to come this way. And then when they got here, they got it. They really got it. And after they spent a few days here, they said, well, we'll never ask you again of going to Canada to shoot the movie. We're shooting it here. We want to be here. Yeah, it is. It is. We're from all over the map on this movie, and that's what it takes to make something like this, you know? You never know where all the pieces are going to come from, and all of a sudden you turn around, it's like, because I literally look at it that way, like it's just a puzzle, and every day, and I still have a few more pieces to go. But I put one in, and I'm like, phew, okay, we're good there. So we have a big mix. But Coates always told me when I was in Morocco when we met that I told him I was from Buffalo, and when he said, where are you from? This is the first day we met. I said, I'm from Buffalo. And the next thing he said to me was, he said, go Sabres. I was like, okay, we're on to a good start.
The Buffalo Niagara region has been particularly welcoming to independent film producers. One of them is local boy made good, Mac Cappuccino, the son of two prominent area doctors. His film, Malaysia.
So the movie's sort of an absurd dark comedy, or a dramedy, I guess people would say. It's a fairly unique film in that it's structurally very different narratively than a lot of other movies, which I thought was interesting. I think, for me at least, like a lot of movies, especially in the independent scene now, kind of do fall into like the same kind of milieu. And I was like, well, if you're gonna make something, and we don't have a lot of money on this movie at all, but if you're gonna make something, if you don't have the resources, you should have at least a creativity in spades. And I think there's actually a freedom in having not a lot to work with, because one, your fiduciary responsibilities are low,
Yeah.
right? And because New York State's tax credit is so wonderful.
That was a good thing to say.
It relieves a little bit of the risk, and I was able to raise some money between my friends and family, and it let us take some creative risks. The way that the movie's structured is very different. The way that we're shooting the movie is very different. And of course, the ending of the movie is very different.
So the crew, the cast, how do you put all this together? You're shooting in Buffalo, which is great, but I don't think people realize it's very intensive. When you're on it, you have it all plotted out.
Yeah, because you sit down in the movie theater on your couch and you watch the movie, and this 100 minutes long, and that's it. And you're like, that was fun. I hope they say that. But it's been a long process. I wrote the script. Probably, just give you the short chronology of the movie. I had the idea for the script for a very long time. It started off as a sort of anthology piece of a bunch of stories that didn't overlap at all.
Wow.
And I started to think, how could I connect these stories? So I sat down, I kind of outlined this script in a couple days, and then I just kind of locked myself in my room, and I hammered the very, very first draft out in about 3 days. I had a working draft there, and I sent that out to some people who I trust. And originally, I was actually going to shoot this, truth be told, in the East Village in New York City. But I called the film commission, and I've talked with them a bunch, and they're super great. And said, hey, I've got this script. We've always talked about doing a movie. Why don't you give it a read, just to get their 2 cents? I mean, they're pretty smart guys. They read it. We had lunch, and they're like, well, why don't we just look around, maybe doing this in Buffalo? I said, okay, I can see that, because in my mind, I had a bar in mind that I wanted to use and everything. And then once we sort of got in the car and sort of drove around and saw everything, it started to really open up the movie to me. It was a very closed movie before, and it really opened up the movie to me in a way that I hadn't looked at it before. It was such a local movie in my head when it was in the East Village, and when I came to Buffalo, the capacity for the movie to be universal became larger. In other words, I could use Buffalo as a every place and no place at the same time, where a large population of the country could watch this movie and be like, hey, that took place in my town, or that took place in a town that I've been to or know.
All of us know the name Clint Eastwood. Well, what about his daughter, Kimber Eastwood? She has come to Buffalo several times.
Well, we love Western New York, and the tax incentive that New York gives you, to make your film, to use the crew for post-production is just so incredible and generous. And then when you have Buffalo in the mix with Niagara Falls and all the beauty and all the beautiful architecture downtown Buffalo, I mean, God, you could just get so many great shots. You're downtown in this historic, beautiful little town, and then you go out and you're out here.
And you're out in the country.
You are.
That's great.
Absolutely. We love it.
One of the biggest films to premiere in 2017 was the film Marshall. Its producer, Jonathan Sanger, knew that he'd found the perfect place when he visited a courthouse in Buffalo.
Toughest thing to find was a courtroom, a courthouse. And Buffalo was that made Buffalo the front runner, because there's the federal courthouse here that has been decommissioned, but it had 3 courtrooms in it, and it's all from earlier than the period that we were filming in, so it was a perfect location if we could get permission to shoot there. And that wasn't necessarily going to be the easiest thing in the world, because there were apparently plans for this courthouse, and they weren't necessarily going to let us take it over. I mean, the thing about courthouses anywhere you go is that you're very rarely going to find a city that has a courthouse that's available, that's just free.
Well, you can't stop.
Yeah.
Well, and you can't
stop cases.
And security and all that. So this was perfect. What other locations did you use?
Well, we used the old train station, which is in a miraculous location. We were floored when we saw it. We never planned to use it, but Tim and Rich, who are from the film office here, took us around and showed us every place we could have imagined. In fact, when I came up here with Reggie Hudland, who is the director, we scouted for 3 days early just to look around to see what existed, and we found about 75% of our locations within 3 days.
Wow.
Which was amazing. I mean, you know, just immediately. I mean, Tim would take us to a building, and that was it. We looked at it and we said, well, that's it. We got it. This is it. It's perfect. We found the courthouse. Obviously, that was a perfect central setting for the movie.
And I have to tell you, you used a friend of mine's house to shoot.
Well,
Jennifer's and Steve's house.
I want to tell you something about that also. It's an interesting thing. But having filmed in many, many locations in this country and other places, you usually know that when you come into a neighborhood and you bring your trucks and you start parking in people's spaces, there's going to be a problem. People are going to complain, and they do. They always do. I mean, certainly in New York and in New York City and Los Angeles, where they've seen so much, they are always trying to get you out of their neighborhoods. This was a situation where I was concerned about it. Quite frankly, I said, we're going to be in these, you know, neighborhoods, and we better be nice because it's going to be very difficult to make sure that people are on our side. The first day of shooting in a neighborhood in Buffalo, our trucks are there, our crew is out on the street, we're blocking off people from their houses, and people from the houses around your friend's house came out with cookies to give to our crew. I said, this is it. I'm only filming movies in Buffalo. I said, this is the best example of your, I mean, Buffalo's, not its logo, but its motto of being the neighborly city. This was City of Good Neighbors.
Yes.
Well, it absolutely lived up to that motto completely for us. It was a great experience.
2017 has been a great year for the Buffalo Niagara Film Commission, and 2018 looks like it may be better than ever. Please remember to join us and get updates on the film industry and behind the camera.